What do you actually do when you have the lead? I help agency owners, business owners, agency owners optimize their high ticket sales. I'm really good at this product. I'm really good at doing this thing, my product SEO.
But I know if we were to do like paid ads and monitor that, we'd be able to very quickly work out. And on top of that, from the SEO perspective, is you obviously working out
why do you want to rank, right?
Yeah.
You want to rank because you want more money, right? More people are doing SEO than ever, but that doesn't mean that they have any idea of really how to explain SEO. It's like all these people are doing SEO, they just become agency owners, but then they're like, oh, now what? I need clients, basically. We're going to get about 50 searches. We're guaranteed you're going to get in the top 3.
Keywords are probably better for the customer, so you're getting a quicker ROI.
Yeah, I mean, like, look, like, if you buy a product on Amazon, is it possible to have too many good reviews for a product? No, it's about testing. You know, you test in sales, just like SEO. You test, see what works.
Hi guys, it's Karl from Searcheroo here, and I'm joined today with Jacob Bushmaker. Jacob and I met back last year in Vietnam, I believe.
Saigon, SEO.
Saigon, yeah. Oh, this year. Sorry,
That's right.
I'm already into next year. It's this year. So this year, Mads' conference, Saigon, was a great conference, and there was like a quick fire mastermind round, and this is where we met together, Jacob and I. So what we're going to do, it's a little bit of a different style today. It's going to be more of an interview stroke. Jacob going into a few elements on how to help you guys as agency owners sell SEO services. So Jacob, I think it's a good way to start would be to introduce yourself. Obviously, Jacob Bushmaker, you know, how did you get into SEO? What do you do? Give us a bit of background.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think like a lot of SEO people, you know, I kind of just fell into it, right? I posted a blog, had a personal travel blog, you know, I was big into rock climbing. I'm like, oh, someone's like, you should do a blog. All right, so I'll do a blog. And it's like, well, how do I get this thing to appear? How do I start getting searches? Well, then you got to do the H2s, you got to do this, you got to do the slugs, you know, and then one thing led to another. All of a sudden, I kind of started getting into SEO, and that, you know, was the nice gateway drug, got into affiliate SEO, that type of stuff, which was I was pretty focused on for a while now. That actually has taken a bit of the backseat since the helpful content updates and all that good stuff. I haven't been doing it as much, to be honest. But luckily, it never was my main form of income. You know, basically over the last, I'd say nearly 10 years now, probably 7 or 8 years. I've been working in high ticket sales, basically doing virtual sales for marketing. I've basically been doing that, you know, started off making cold calls. I pulled the stat together for this interview because it's kind of a flex stat. I made over 72,937 cold calls before I stopped counting. And that's when I stopped counting. So it's like well over 100,000. So basically I just used to bang the phones all day, and then I do affiliate SEO, and then I would just do affiliate SEO when I got off, right? And so
to like train teams and things on how to do that, or are you just it's quite a hard skill, I'd imagine, to train, right?
To train how to do cold calling?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's a skill. Like, it needs to be trained.
You couldn't do that shit.
Yeah.
Chance.
Yeah, I mean, it's brutal. Like, I don't want to do it again. You know, like I did it. I've done it. I've cut my teeth, right? But now basically, I do a lot more of the closing calls, like, you know, video calls, you know, actually with the clients. That's actually the fun stuff. The cold calling is a necessary evil. But yeah, so now, you know, with time, you know, you get the people under you doing the cold calls, and then you don't actually have to be on the phones quite as much, you
awesome.
know? Yeah.
So then what are you up to now then? So obviously you went into the high affiliate ticket stuff for the last 10 years, and then what are you doing now?
Yeah, I mean, essentially now I help agency owners, business owners, agency owners optimize their high ticket sales for the high ticket sales systems, I should say, for immediate and long-term success. So basically, I train people how to make sales online, virtual sales.
And with a lot of them, does it tend to be the actual agency owner themselves, or do they have like a sales team in place? And then how do you go about implementing, you know, like SOPs for that sales team, or do you kind of integrate in for a period of time and try and train them up?
Yeah, I mean, typically there's kind of like two schools of thought. It's kind of like you can get someone from like 0 to 60. Like, I don't really know how this sales thing. I just am good at SEO, but I need clients, right? That's kind of one client. The other client is you have a bigger how to say, like a bigger company, you might have some sales guys and how to get them from 60 to 100, how to actually get them to scale. I typically focus with people in that beginning stage that are just like, hey, look, I'm really good at this product. I'm really good doing this thing, my product SEO, doing marketing, but I don't know anything about how to get on the phone and actually make people want to sign up, right? And that's typically what I'm focusing on.
And are you educating them on like a cold calling process? So like, are you sort of telling them how to find the leads and all of that sort of stuff, and then they go out and they
Yeah,
just almost start hitting it?
yeah. I do help with cold calling. Actually, for instance, a couple dudes I had, they were Brazilian doing local SEO. I was teaching them how to cold call. So yes, but really the specialty, like what I really like to focus on is what do you actually do when you have the lead? From basically lead, what do you
How
say?
to nurture
That's right. Yeah. So how to nurture the lead, how to actually structure the pitch, what to say on those calls, getting your pitch deck, your slides set up. The whole sales process is more what I focus on.
So
Yeah.
then, so do you have to do a lot of the time where you're sort of focusing on the client's sort of goals or what their targets are and sort of structuring what you're delivering based off that?
Do you kind of mean like structuring the offer based
Yes.
on? Well, yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, every offer is pretty different. Yeah, yeah,
Even despite it being obviously SEO is quite a niche market, right? But each client that you seem to work with does seem to have their own little slant.
yeah. I mean, I think that's important, because not everyone's gonna do. The principles are the same, right? It's always kind of the same principles. It's what
You
are you
want
gonna
to
do? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
rank.
That's right. Well, you want to no, it's you want to rank, but why do you want to rank, right?
Yeah,
You
yeah,
want to rank.
yeah.
You want to rank because you want more money,
You want more
right?
money. Yeah,
That's
make
right.
more money.
That's right. That's right. It's you are trying to explain why SEO is the best choice to make you more money. That's
Yeah.
basically what you're trying to do. So yeah, I mean it's the same principles, but you do want to add your own flavor into it, and like certain things like how you structure a guarantee, your terms, contract terms, your pricing, all these types of things obviously would change from agency. But in general, it's the same. It's the same concepts that you
Do
do
you
again and
find
again.
that it's changed more in that obviously as SEO is becoming more and more of a common theme in marketing? Like versus 10 years ago, where probably no one really knew what SEO is. Now you can probably go out for a meal and there's maybe 10 SEOs in the room, right? Um,
In Chiang
do
Mai,
you
yeah.
find it's changed? Do you find that's changed and made your job a little bit easier? Almost because like if you're teaching a company say how to cold call, they're cold calling a company who might have already got experience with SEO or have an
Mhm.
in-house team or something of that nature.
I mean, I'd say it changed just because, yeah, I mean, with more people doing SEO, there's more people are doing SEO than ever, but that doesn't mean that they have any idea of really how to explain SEO or really
Yeah.
explain the value of it. So in that regard, yeah, I mean, that's basically why I have a job. Why people need this is because
Yeah.
it's like all these people are doing SEO, they just become agency owners, but then they're like, oh, now what? I need clients, basically. Um, yeah, so I'd definitely say that's kind of been the change there.
So how would you go about calculating like obviously we just mentioned, every client wants money.
Yeah,
Essentially that's what it comes down to. They want to
yeah,
make more money.
that's
Every
right.
business should most businesses should align with that moral sort of compass. So how do you go about calculating an ROI for them?
Yeah, sure. So this is actually something that it really comes down to this. Like essentially, when when someone wants to talk to you, they're like, look, I need SEO services. What they really want to know is how much money do I give you, and how much money do I get back, roughly. Obviously, it's in you can't say exactly, but yeah. So ROI is basically the whole sale. So the way that you typically, it's pretty easy. You typically would break it down, and you want to get the average cost of whatever the product is this person's selling, right? You want to have roughly an idea of what the search volume is, the actual number of leads you're going to be generating. Clicks, once they're in the top three, for instance, we can estimate if we're in the top three, top two, whatever, we're going to get this many clicks. And then essentially you want to know what your profit margin is, right? And then you want to know what your close rate is, essentially.
Yeah.
And with all those numbers, you can basically get a really good ROI. And I have a calculator that I actually like to pull up when I'm on the calls, and I usually get their numbers. Like, what's your average client value? 2 grand. Okay, put it in. Like, okay, we see on Ahrefs you're gonna get about 50 searches. We're guaranteed you're gonna get in the top three. That should roughly be, conservatively, whatever. 15 clicks a month, 20 clicks a month, right? And then you can get those numbers and then show them roughly how many new clients they should get from those from ranking in those search terms.
So when you're doing that principle, obviously we all know SEO, especially nowadays, takes time,
Mm-hmm.
right? So do you ever think to the customer, you know what, let's do a trial run or a practice run and we'll do paid ads? Because they're going to get instant feedback.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to then, because some of these customers that you're working with might not actually even know what their close rate is and things, right?
Yep.
They've probably never ever tracked that metric until you've
Yep.
mentioned it and you're like,
That's right.
I should probably track that.
It's good to know. Yeah.
So do you ever think like that could be a good avenue for them? Because some, I know, like even within Searcheroo, you know, we don't get a huge amount of cold leads in. So if I'm being honest, I wouldn't be able to tell you what our close rate is at all. Like it is what it is. It happens.
Yeah.
But I know if we were to do like paid ads and monitor that, we'd be able to very quickly work out. And on top of that, from the SEO perspective, is you obviously working out what keywords are probably better for the customer, so you're getting a quicker ROI for them.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've ever considered that as a quicker route for them.
I mean, I think it's a really good route. I just haven't found. Not all SEO guys, SEO agencies do paid ads as well. However, this is an entire tactic, as you probably know. Rank and Rent, right? There's an entire business based on this. You can either build the site before and just kind of see what happens and get the clicks, or you can run the ads, get the actual click, actual data, and then sell those ads, sell those leads, and then you take the money and make the site. Which, as you might imagine, that's probably a better way to go about it. Yeah.
It is sometimes. It is
Yeah.
also, obviously, it can hurt sometimes.
It can't hurt. Okay.
When Google algorithm updates come out and things go a bit sideways and you've got companies relying on 500 leads a day and they're down to 10, that can be painful.
But what I'd say though, to your point though, is like that normally isn't an option. They normally don't have the paid ads option. So what you typically do in that case is that's why it's so important to have testimonial case studies, have similar markets, similar, like I did this in this city with this search term. It's similar size, similar this, and this is what happened.
Do you have them reveal the search term, or
do I ask them?
It's like some customers or their clients, for instance, might be a little bit. I know from Searcheroo, they very much do not show our URL. We don't mind being in a case study, but you kind of have to not show URLs and things. So obviously we can't like be specific on, you know, let's say dumpster rental Philadelphia. We can't then say, our client's position 1, because then all it takes is someone to go in or even Google to say it and go, well, they're clearly link building and SEO.
Yeah.
So do you have customers, is it the same where they're probably hiding, saying, you know, we've worked in this city and, you know, achieved top 3 rankings?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say necessarily make those things publicly available on the website, you know, without their permission.
Only when on the
but when you're on the call with this, that's a little different, right? This might be something that's on your pitch deck, you know, like your actual slideshow that you don't make publicly available. That's how I'd handle that. I mean, of course, you wouldn't want to put these things online without permission, you know, or if it's going to damage their business, you wouldn't do that. Yeah.
So would you say that's like the key to gaining the credibility for the customer? Like and how many, is there like a sweet spot on how many you should have?
Testimonials?
Yeah.
As many as you can.
Here's another one. Here's another one.
Yeah, I mean, like, look, like if you buy a product on Amazon, is it possible to have too many good reviews for a product?
No.
You're just like, fuck yeah, I'll buy that thing. You know,
but on, like,
that's what I think.
Like, for instance, on Amazon, you can read a couple and then move off. But if you're doing the pitch with the customer, do you just kind of give a few examples and say there's loads more? I can send you across the pitch if you want to have a read through.
What you just said. Yeah, what you just said, and you do want to layer it in strategically in your sales process. This goes back to having a process. When you first reach out and you send the the initial email, you can even put it in the reminders, the calendar reminders. You know, with Calendly, you can set the things. You can actually start sending them this stuff, so they'll have a chance to start to digest these things before the call. and even mention it to them. I usually like to mention it to them. Hey, just so you know, I'm going to send you, this article. It's got some reviews on there. It's got a couple case studies. This one in particular is in a similar size city. I take a look at that one, and then we'll talk on Friday. Okay, and then you can also put it on your pitch deck as well and kind of layer it in, right?
And I guess with that, it probably reduces the chance of them not showing up.
100%.
Yeah.
It's
And
all related. It's all
do
related.
you have anything where like I know they do on Calendar like a double confirm sort of thing. So it might email them the day before and just say, please reconfirm that you're attending tomorrow to try and stop that drop off, or do you just
Oh,
assume that it's going to be all right?
I've never done that before. Um, but I find when you do, if you're doing what I'm saying, it's the drop off's pretty low, right? If you send a couple reminders, if they're
Yeah.
interested, they'll show up.
And do
Them,
you text
yeah,
and email or
yeah, yeah.
whatever is there? Text, email, social media, just send it all.
Well, like anything, there's a fine line. There's a fine line between, we did test this. Like, I tested this one time. I did 3 text messages and 3 emails, three, and people started getting pissed off, as you might imagine. So I did test it once, and so don't do that. I found the sweet spot is 2 email reminders and 1 text message reminder. And
And
you
is the
and
text the last one, like the day before, or
yeah, the text is like a couple hours before, something like that. Yeah, you typically would stagger them a little bit. Yeah, I think I do like 1 day before, 4 hours before email, and then a text like an hour, 2 hours before, something like that. Like, it's not rocket science. Just give it a try, and you'll probably see the show up rates go up.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah? Because I know that would be one of the. Well, I know even from our side, we have like a Calendly and like calls and things, and we do have to have like reminders, and we do sometimes get people um, not showing up, or obviously reorganizing. But it just kind of is what it is.
I mean, it's gonna happen. It's gonna
It's going to
happen.
happen
It's gonna
exactly.
happen. It's fine.
Exactly.
That's gonna happen. Yeah.
In fact, I'm pretty sure last week, so just so the crowd know, I'm pretty sure we were meant to have this in last week, but I didn't show up. So
That's right.
I'm
That's
owning that. That was my
right.
fault.
And the
Um,
follow up got him. The
got
mat,
him back.
the magic's in the follow up. They always say that, but it's true. That's right.
So, how do you then, how do you offer advice on how to structure their offer? How do you go about that?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So there's a few different parts to this. So basically, I break it down into 3 sections. There's the initial part, which essentially is the qualifying questions, just getting to know the client, legitimately getting to know they're a good fit if you're a good fit to work together mutually, if they have budget, they need SEO, all that good stuff, right? That's all part of the qualifiers. Okay, you're trying to understand their business. So let's break that down. So like that's like you want to understand their current business, where they're at, revenue, employees, things like this. I typically like to ask, what's their vision? Where are they trying to get to? Right? You're here now. Where do you want to be?
Yeah,
Sometimes they're like, I mean, sometimes people are like, oh yeah, I'm just trying to be done, I'm trying to sell, I'm trying to retire or whatever. It's probably good to know that, right?
yeah,
And then I'll typically go into their issues, what's stopping them from getting there. A lot of times they'll say marketing. That's why they're on the call with you. I need more clients, right? And then I'll typically go into more industry specific questions like, are you doing SEO right now? What are you doing? Are you doing link building? You doing this, that, to try and really hone in on what their current situation is and just see if it's a good fit. And so that's kind of step one. And that's if I was to give a biggest, like if it's like a pie graph of like 3 sections, that's like 60-70% of the sale is really that upper section, is getting to know them, really understanding their business, their problems, and seeing if you're a good fit.
So
That's where you
then are
start.
you almost taking notes on all of this at this stage for, then in the future
Yeah.
you can kind of come back to it. So
Oh
you've
yeah.
got like a profile of that customer.
Yeah. 100%. And I also like to here's a little sneaky bonus tip, guys. I also like to sprinkle in some of those questions that I was talking before about the ROI, just roughly get an idea. Yeah, so roughly what's your average client value? Right. So then you start to get their numbers. And then when I go over the ROI calculator, I actually plop their numbers in there. And so then they can't really argue with them. So
Yeah,
yeah, that's what I like to do.
fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then
Um,
what are the like common objections from the customer's point of view in that? So about the offer, what do they tend to object like to?
just in general. What would people tend to object? It's too expensive. Yeah, yeah,
Goddamn money. That's all it ever comes
that's right.
down to.
Yeah, yeah. So I was gonna say, yeah. So typically, yeah. Then you move into the offer, right? That's like the second part. You go into the offer. You actually explain what you do, how you can help them. Um, yeah. Most common objections. It basically comes down to two things, right? It is like, can you how much money are they going to make, ROI, and can you actually do it? Like, are you legit? Can you do it? Do you have the skills? It essentially comes down to, yeah, like that goes down to that comes back to your testimonials and things like that. Those are like the really big two things that you have to try and overcome. Yeah.
So I guess that's where, like, obviously our method of the rank and rent model, where we own the website, there's no cost at all to the customer, is like pretty unique in that sense, because the reality is there's no cost to them.
Hmm.
Therefore, if we can't deliver, there's no outlay from them, right? So they haven't actually wasted any money, because and all we could actually deliver is a positive ROI, because even if we get one conversion, they've not spent anything.
Do you do a per lead model typically, or do you do a flat rate normally?
Just depends
Depends.
on the need.
Okay.
So some flat rate, if I'm being honest, most of them tend to be flat rate, and then that
Okay.
rate will move up based off how many leads they kind of get in. So it'd be
Okay.
like a structure that increases over time. Or if it's like a really lucrative niche, obviously it could be based off a percentage of profit model. But again, you're relying on the customer being very, very open and honest, which, the best of the ability isn't always the case. But yeah, you try as good as possible. So then, how do you, on sort of the offer, how are you qualifying the questions? Like, well, what sort of questions are you asking, mentioning, understanding?
Yeah. When I'm just getting the call started, I usually try and understand a couple things. Like I was saying, that's what I was talking about before. Understanding their business, what they do,
Yeah,
where they're currently at, revenue, employees, where are they trying to get to, what's stopping them from getting there, and then I like to get into specifics of what you're actually doing right now for marketing, right? What are you doing for SEO? What's your backlink stuff? What type of support are you after? That's always a really good question. Like, are you looking for done for you, done with you? I show you how to do it, or do you actually want to do it yourself? These are good things to ask on the front end. Um, yeah, and just in general, like, I mean, what prompted you to hop on the call? I mean, like, why are you looking for SEO help right now?
do you
Right?
ever do pre-qualifying questions at the front end, so you're getting some of these problems off them initially, or is it just more, because sometimes that can cause a few barriers to getting them in the door, right? So have you tested that? Which one works better? Or
Do you mean having like a type form or something, kind of weeding
yeah,
some people
and
out?
then having them
Yeah,
answer like a bunch of questions first, so you can try and understand the problems before you've even went on the call,
yeah,
type thing. Um,
yeah. Of course, you're gonna. That means the lead's gonna be more qualified when you get on the call with them, 100%. But if you're dying for clients and you don't have an abundance of leads calling you, you gotta realize that when the more steps you put, the lower your conversion rate
well,
goes down. So, like, in general, if you need clients, I would just get them on the line and see what's going on. You can get so much information. You can get so much information just
almost
being on a
just
call with
open
someone.
the catch the net, cast the net wide, and then in time, when you've got
That's
too
right.
many clients coming in,
Yeah,
maybe start
that's right.
redefining. But in the first initial stages, obviously, just cast it as wide as you can.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I would do if I was struggling for clients. But of course, if I had too much and I was turning people away, just just keep making that filter tougher and keep raising your prices.
Yeah,
And would be the other extreme of that. You know.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I know that often we've done that in a few local businesses where some of them are getting too much business in, and obviously starting to struggle to scale with that as well. And then we've even suggested, well, up your price. Oh, but they'll not pay it. Well, they
Who
will.
cares? Who cares?
And who cares?
Yeah.
Someone will pay it, up your price, and then they up the margin by like 30%, and all of a sudden they're not actually losing any more leads. It's like, well, great, up your price again.
Yeah. I
I
can't
can't
believe people are. I can't believe people fight on that. I've heard that too so much. People are like, no, I can't do that. I'm like, yes, you can. Just
I was
up
like,
it.
guess what? If it starts drying up, lower your price. You can go either way. You know what I mean? If
That's
the
right.
leads are drying up and you're losing too many, then lower your price. You went
Yeah.
too far. And then do the same again next year. And over
Yeah.
time, guess what? You're probably increasing your prices.
And there's also a lot of psychology of people value things that are expensive. So if you come in and your price is a third, they're going to think the value of your service is a third a lot of the time. So you would actually be amazed when you raise your price, how sometimes your conversion rate goes up. It's pretty absurd. So yeah, just do it. See what happens. It's all about testing. No, it's about
Yeah.
testing. You test in sales, just like SEO. You test,
Yeah,
you see what
just like
works.
SEO.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So, okay, you've structured your offer. You've went into the call. You understand all the pain points. You think you've got a pretty good idea, of the customer
it's a
and all
good
that on
fit.
the call.
Yeah,
What what do you do now? How do
yeah,
you turn it around from all the pain points? How are you explaining
sure.
what you can sell them?
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so then typically, so you've been talking, and sometimes I've been on the phone. It just depends, but sometimes it's been 20, 30 minutes, and I'm just getting to know the client. Now that depends on the industry what you're selling, but then you move on to you. Basically, what can you do? How can you remove those pain points? How can you get them from where they are to where they want to go? Right. I typically would start with a little bit explain my background, right? Who
Yeah.
I am, what I do, my experience. Show a few flex stats, explain how the service works. Actually what they're going to get. Give the price, give some deliverables, add a guarantee as well. Some sort of guarantee, like for instance, an SEO. We guarantee you're going to be the top three positions for your search term within 6 months, or we work for free until you get there. Right, that's what one of my clients runs. It works really well for them. Typically, I want to add some scarcity or urgency as well. After that, hey, just so you know, we're a small agency. We're a boutique firm. We only can take on a handful of clients, and right now we're nearly at capacity. I got a couple other calls this week, so if you want to lock this in, this is what I'd suggest we do. Okay, and then you basically move forward into the closing after that point. Yeah.
So then with that, so obviously the scarcity element, would you then almost, because it's SEO and obviously you can't really have two customers in the one area type thing, would you say, look,
Yeah.
we only take one
Yeah.
customer in the area
Yeah.
and we're speaking to competitor name and other competitor tomorrow.
Oh
Do
yeah.
you want to lock in and I'll cancel these calls today?
What you just
Um,
said works so well.
right.
Yeah, and it hurts too, especially when they know the competitor. Oh, I
Would
love.
you
Oh, they
would you
love.
do that then on your first part when you're trying to understand them a bit more? Try and find out about competitors and things to then chuck that in later on.
That's some ninja shit.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. If you can get an idea, if you can get them to say it,
yeah.
oh yeah, that's the stuff that really
And
works well.
sometimes I've noticed in some local issues, they're like, that motherfucker, like, I just need to beat them. I just need to beat them. They're saying this, and you're like, yeah, that's no problem. Yeah, no problem. Just write it down.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm using this later.
yeah. That's good. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's good. So that one's really good. Really good. Mention the competitor, and like you say, like in local SEO, rank the rent. You're doing one spot. You got one spot. And I'm calling every contractor in town. There's 40
Yeah,
contractors, and I'm going to call everyone, and the next guy is going to sign up. So do you want it?
yeah.
And,
Wow.
and that stuff's powerful, right?
And then sort of what as a expectation of sort of closing rate are people typically looking at? If you were to follow that sort of whole structure, what sort
Hmm.
of closing rate would you say based off the 72,000 phone calls that you've done? What sort of
Yeah,
closing rate are you typically looking at?
yeah, yeah, yeah. When I was killing it, I was in the 40% closing rate. Um,
Wow.
but that's I sometimes these things ebb and flow. Like I don't know what it is. Like I don't know if it's the economy or if it's just like it can't be. It must be you. Like sometimes you're just on it and you just close everything. But also you hit troughs as well where you can't close a door. And so like
Yeah.
yeah,
You can probably turn your microphone on to speak to them.
yeah, yeah. I mean a kind of abysmal closing rate would be like 15 to 20%.
Right. So
Yeah,
that's what you would consider pretty bad at this stage. If you've got through the whole
I would.
pitch,
I would.
15 to 20% is terrible.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, if you have a good offer, if you have a
Yeah.
good offer and you're doing the things I'm saying, you're sprinkling the testimonials. A lot of this has to do with the sales agent as well. That's why sales is a skill. It's about how you speak, how you present yourself. Right? You have to
Yeah.
come off as an authority, someone who's confident, speaking well. All these things really project a lot of confidence, and it's really important in sales. Yeah. Hmm.
And then what would you say out of all of that, in terms of percentages, where would you sort of lean on, like 80% of your call is done in this section? So maybe, finding out the information that is actually literally 80% of the call. It could be 20 and then 10, 10 and 10.
Mm-hmm.
Or how would you structure that? So if you're working, obviously, because I'd imagine would take some time for a customer to, like, almost, sorry, not a customer, a client of yours to get the offer together, start to understand, and like to streamline all these processes.
Mm-hmm.
How much would you say, in terms of confidence from your point of view, is split percentage wise?
Are you talking about like the parts of the pitch, essentially?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I mean, the majority by far is the front end,
okay,
is getting to know the client. Getting to know the client, listening, active listening, and really understanding them, letting them know that you really care and understand. That's so important. I usually say like 60-70% of the pitch of the sale is them talking. You're not saying anything, and you're
yeah. You're
listening.
just taking notes. You're
You're
just
taking
taking
notes,
notes.
and you're
Yeah.
getting info, and you're formulating your attack, and that's the right word. You're formulating your strategy.
Yeah,
Sorry,
it's all right. It's all
we
right.
can have Freudian slip there. Sorry, anyway, you're getting the info right, and just
Yeah.
seeing legitimately
You're
if
working
it's a good
out
fit.
how you can help this person,
If
or
you
if you
if
can't.
or if you can't, that's right,
Yeah.
and you're making the decision.
And
And
then with
yep,
that in mind as well, would you ever be inclined that, you know what, you're not a great fit for me type thing, but Steve over there, he does a great job. I'm gonna, if you wouldn't mind, I'll pass your details through to him, and you guys might be able to hit it off. Have you ever noticed that actually passes even more trust your way, because you've literally said to the client, look, it's not going to work with
yeah,
us, and they almost like, come on, I want to work with you. You're like, nah, sorry, you're not big enough. You haven't got enough aspiration
yeah,
or whatever, and go from there. Do you find that works well, or
yeah. Actually, about 2 weeks ago, or no, maybe it was like a month ago. I said that to someone, and he's just like, no, I want to work with you. Like, all right, yeah, yeah. So it's really powerful because
yeah,
I mean, I always think of it. I think of it as like a courtship. That's really how I think of it. It's like if you come in really strong, you see the girl, you come in strong. Like, hey, how's it going? What she's gonna be? She's like, whoa,
yeah,
like, oh. But if you come in kind of casual, smooth, I don't need this. I got, like this is the same vibe. Like, it's okay. Like, like let's just see if it's a good fit together. And it's the same thing, right? And so that's how I like to look at it. In my own head. But
yeah.
yeah, but dude, yeah. I mean, like
Yeah.
I
It's
definitely
like the
say that.
pickup artistry of the sales world. Is that what you're trying to say? That's what it's all about. A few little negatives, chuck that in.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, man. Yeah, I mean, I say that all the time when it's true. Also, there's ethics involved as well. If you don't think you're a good fit and you can't help them and you don't see their money seeing a good ROI, that's up to you. But I personally, like to end the call at that point. Yeah.
And
Hmm.
then what do you do? What's your follow up process from there? So you've had the pitch.
Yeah.
It all seemed to go well. What's your immediate steps after you've just hung up the phone? What's
Yeah.
now your next steps?
Yeah. Um. So as always, it depends. It depends on your product, your service. It depends legitimately. A lot of this comes down to legitimately how you work as a business, what you need to get started. But the number one takeaway I'd say in general is you never end a call without having another follow up call booked. That's like the number one takeaway. So
And you're
if you
booking that at the end of the call, like
while you're on
so.
the call with them, while you're on the call with them, you pull up your calendar. You pull up your calendar. You be like, okay, look, so let's just say standard, like how I do it, like my coaching clients. Like, oh, look, so I think this is a good fit, man. So let's get into it. So this is what I'm going to do. So I'm going to send you a proposal right now with what we talked about. It's got my pricing in there. It's got everything in writing. You can take a look at that. I'll send you the DocuSign. I'm also going to send you the payment link for the deposit we talked about as well. If you feel comfortable, feel free to go ahead and pay that. If you do want to talk one more time before you move forward, that's great. Let's just set up that follow-up call right now, and then we can just go from there. Okay. That's usually how I'd word it,
Yeah.
right? And then I'm in there, and so then you'll send them the info. You give them the ability to basically close, do the thing at their own. But if they need another call, they're not comfortable. You already have that time booked in to then, help them as you can. And then if they did already pay, which a lot of times they do, when you handle it that way, then the next call is just going to be the onboarding call. They've just seen what's up. Yeah.
And then let's say, for instance, Because obviously there is still going to be drop off at this stage potentially.
Of course.
60% maybe if you're very
Hmm.
good. 6% on the drop off. Do you then, if it is going that way, so it looks like they're just going to drop off, do you provide them like not a problem? It's obviously not a good fit for you right now, but here's a few little tips that we'd suggest just to help improve your website, and then move on. So then you're giving them a little bit of sort of the you know with SEO services or whatever service it is that they're offering. There's probably a few little bits that are going to take minimal time for them to quickly
Hmm.
do. Like an Ahrefs audit report, or they've got a bunch of URLs that are wrong or something.
Sure.
Do you tend to try and advise that because it always keeps that lead open for the future, or do you kind of just say move on? They're probably not going to be a customer.
Oh, it's definitely always open in the future, even if they don't move forward
Yeah,
that today, because most of the time it has nothing to do with you.
yeah,
To be honest, you think it feels really personal, but usually it's just because they have bills to pay, right? They have this, they have that, right? They have other things they're that's going on. And so what you described, I've actually never done it to where like I've sent like a PDF, like some more value, but I think that's a great idea. And that would be a really good way to handle it. Yeah. I mean, always keep the door open. And at the very least, if they say, hey, just right now, I just can't do it, typically it comes down to money. I just can't come up with a couple grand a month for this retainer. I mean, it's just like, yeah, dude, that's totally fine. I get it. 2 grand a month is a lot for a lot of people. It'd be a lot for me too. Would it be better if I circle back around in 3 to 6 months? And they're usually like, yeah, sure. And then
or
then you
even
then
with
you got the
that, what you
permission.
could probably do is you could have
Yeah,
like a little stank list. Because let's face it, we've all been in SEO for so long now. There's a bunch of charlatans out there who don't do SEO but charge you for it. There's a bunch of agencies that do that as well. They kind of just give you a nice glossy report and they're not really doing anything.
sure.
So you could, as part of your pitch, kind of go, unfortunately, it hasn't happened, but here's a list. If you are speaking to others, here's a list of things that I would just be wary of when it comes to SEO. They should be mentioning link building, they should be doing content strategies, content pruning, all of these sort of
Yeah.
things. If they're not mentioning these, I would stay away just for
Um,
that experience.
I've did this exact same thing with our when with our when I was selling leads, right? I'm doing it for lawyers in the US. Like it was the same thing. It was like, look, just so you know, if you're talking to someone else competitor, that's totally fine. Like if they're going to lock you into a contract, be wary. They're contractually obligating you to buy their product. It's usually a red flag, right? Make
Yeah.
sure that the leads, for instance, make sure the leads are exclusive. You want to make sure they're only going to you, right? So yeah, absolutely. That's a very powerful thing to do. Right. Also, what you can do in the pitch as well is make comparisons, right? Because you might say, look, like let's go to a rank and run site. You might say, hey, look, yeah, so just so you know, we're going to be sending the lead to you. You're the only person we're going to be working with in the town. If you don't let them know that that's a big deal, that the lead just goes to you, that's not industry standard. That we're only going to be ranking you. I could sell 3 slots. There's three top 3 slots. I could sell all three if I want. I'm just going to sell to you. If you don't let them know that, they don't have that kind of framework that it's a big deal. So those are good things to kind of sprinkle in as you're going around. Yeah.
And then do you do much with, obviously it's going to be client specific, so I guess it probably doesn't matter to you, but like the GMB side, because obviously I know if you, especially in local stuff, GMBs are pretty important, right? So do you have it where you're working with the customer and you're then building up their own GMB, or are you trying to do it where you kind of build your own and sell the leads that way, or is that just very specific to whatever the customer is?
I mean, that just depends on the client, where they are and what they're
Yeah,
doing, right? But it goes down to the same thing. Like here's just in general, like zooming back out, customers don't actually care about SEO
no,
in general. They
no,
don't. They really don't. They don't care what a GMB is. Like, I don't care. I just want more people coming into my business. I just
yeah,
want more walk-ins. I don't care really how you do it.
yeah,
You know,
yeah, yeah.
so you don't even need to get in GMBs and local lists. Yeah, it's good to say a little bit of these things so you sound authoritative, but most people, they're just gonna get that glazed over deer in the headlights look. So it goes back to the same thing: ROI, money. What are they gonna get? What am I gonna give you? What am I gonna get back?
So
That's what it
that's an
comes down to.
interesting topic, though. So then,
Yeah.
obviously, I'm quite technical SEO. I love SEO to bits. Probably not the best sales guy, but maybe that's because I am too technical. So if I go on a phone call, I'm going into the website. I'm saying you should be fixing all of this, fixing all that, and they're just going,
Yeah, I mean, you probably get a lot of that, like,
Yeah.
right? Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
shit, you know what you're talking about, but I have no idea what you're saying to me
yeah,
right
yeah,
now in a foreign
yeah.
language.
I
So
mean,
would you
there's
say
a
that's like a key element or problem though with SEO agency owners is
it is.
especially once you are, can do the work, they probably go too technical as opposed to thinking like the business owner. They're thinking like the SEO.
100%. It's like one of the biggest things I see is SEO people, they talk too much about SEO, which
Yeah.
makes sense because they're
They live
super
and breathe it.
yeah, they're
Yeah.
super obsessed with it. They're total nerds on it. So it makes sense, but like you have to realize like no one else cares. Like just in, I'm just being real. Like and this is from one SEO guy to another
Yeah.
SEO guy. Okay?
Yeah.
Like the clients they rarely care, I should say. Rarely.
Yeah.
Now, this is also why the qualifying questions you can unearth these things because, as I said, you're going to ask about what you're doing for SEO, and so maybe the guy's going to be like, oh yeah, well, I do my own SEO, I do this and that. So maybe the business owner is really into it. Um, they're usually not, right?
So with that, which is also you sort of stumbled on something there, is it very important that you're getting in with the business owner because obviously it could be a slightly different conversation if you're speaking to their head of marketing because
Yeah,
the head of marketing might be thinking, well, you're just coming for my job type thing. You see
you
what
do
I mean? Like,
you do get that sometimes. Yeah,
yeah. So
yeah.
how do you try to any agency owners out there? How do you try to make sure they get in with the right person, right?
So like anything, there it depends.
Yeah,
There's no right answer. There's no 100% right answer every time. One of the things which is a good question to ask on the front end for this reason um, is there anyone else you need to run this by before making a decision?
yeah.
All right, do you have any partners? And so these are the types of things you can kind of get a good idea from at the beginning of the call. And usually, if they say, "Yeah, like I have a partner, he's not. I have a partner, I need to run it by him," you typically will know it's not going to be it's going to be a multiple call close, and so you might not even try to close. The
Yeah.
deal in that some circumstance, right? Because if you do try and close and they resist you, that gets you out of rapport. You usually don't want to get that
So would you
vibe
try,
going on.
try and like lead it on to say, oh, well, do you want to try and collate a time where all three of us or four of us can hop on a call, or do you just try to just
It's a good
push it down
question,
the
man.
road?
That's a good question, man. And I've done it both ways. And I used to have a really strict rule. If it wasn't the decision maker, I wouldn't pitch him. Just
Right.
no. And I succeeded in pissing a lot of people off, and also just I think letting a lot of deals kind of fall through my fingertips to where a lot of companies you just have to go through the marketing manager. You have to go through this person. So it's
Yeah.
basically going to be, you basically remember you're going to be pitching this person. Then you're probably going to have to, if you do good, you're going to sell the first person. Then you're going to have to do another call and basically re-pitch and
Sell,
sell the next
sell
person.
the second person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what I would suggest doing.
So
Yeah.
would you then retweak your whole because you've got all the details off them then, or from the first person, you're then retweaking your offer slightly for the
Yeah.
next the
Yeah.
second person, so it's all very related, or do you just kind of
Yeah.
run it the same?
Yeah.
Everyone likes to talk about themselves, right? So do
Yeah.
you just kind of let them waffle on?
Yeah, man, you're asking good questions, and like these are things you kind of just gotta kind of just feel it out with time. But you basically do the same pitch because just assume that the marketing manager they didn't explain it correctly
Yeah,
because even if they did explain it, they're not going to explain it as good as you
as good as
ever.
owner. Yeah.
As good as the owner. No one can explain your service as good as you can. So why are you letting a third party do it?
And
Right.
what's interesting with that, though, because just as a plain caveat to this, what would be interesting is sometimes you're on the call speaking to their head of marketing, and they've got a complete disconnect with their owner. Like the talk, it's almost like they're talking about two different businesses here. Do you then obviously because it's the owner you need to convert, not the marketing manager. Do
Yeah.
you kind of almost mention this like on the call, like, oh, that's interesting because such and such said this, and kind of chucking them under the bus, or do you just kind of leave that in the background? Is sort of well, I know there's going to be a disconnect here, so I might have to tweak the service package slightly to sort of mean both parties.
Hmm. I probably wouldn't poke the
Yeah,
bear too much, but that's up to you. I mean, look, like this is just my way I do sales. There's a lot of things you can do to poke the bear and kind of like you can, and it works. It
yeah,
works with, particularly with certain buyer profiles, right? When you
yeah.
start to get good at reading the person's personality, yeah, you can start to do that stuff. But I don't really do that. I would just, it's like, oh yeah, totally. I would take the high road, just like, oh yeah, totally. I get it. Things get misinterpreted, or we go over a lot of information really quickly. That's totally fine. This is the deal, and then I would explain, the what's going on, right? Yeah.
Awesome. No, so this has been an amazing interview, obviously, with Jacob. A totally different element to the channel. How can people get hold of you, Jacob, if they want to book in
Yeah.
for some good talking to you?
Yeah. Also, yeah. So, first, head over my YouTube channel. Follow me. Follow me. It's just Jacob Bushmaker. At Jacob Bushmaker, search me. I'm sure you'll be able to find that. Or you can go email me at jacob at thesalesformula.com. All right. So those would be the two best ways. You can just email me directly.
Awesome. And now signing off, I am going to chuck a little bit at you. Is there any key tip that you would chuck out there as a little sign off, a little giveaway? What is one of the fundamentals to all of this?
Um, Focus really heavily on the front end of the script, qualifying questions, getting to know them, particularly SEO guys. We're kind of nerdy introverts, right? Like, we just want to like get to the numbers. It's not about that. You got to get to know the client and their goals. So focus on that. I can't stress it. That's one of the biggest parts of the sale. And also, don't talk so much about SEO, the technical stuff. Your client doesn't really know, doesn't really care.
Awesome. Right. Cheers, Jacob. Cheers for coming on.
All right. Thanks, man. Thanks, Carl.